Okay, today I wanted to come on and talk about why subscribing and tune in to the economic message from father to son. The reason why I decided to make this channel for a couple reasons. One, I wanted to put out information about my life and the changes in my life and how economics impacted my life. And then secondly, I wanted to talk about, I have three boys. I talk about the two oldest ones a lot more. My youngest one is a junior in high school, and he's a work in progress. He's doing stellar in school, but it's always a battle to get him to buy in. So I wanted to talk about what I did with my sons and how I was able to, or us together was able to get them in really good economic situations. And I made the channel to just talk about, mainly everything economic and how economics can impact your life. If over time, I only reach, a couple people, then I'll be happy with that. But that's, some of the reasons why, that's the basics reasons why I made the channel. That's the first reason. The second reason is, I know these videos will be posted on YouTube, I hope, long after I'm gone. It'll give, if my sons had kids, they'll be able to, say, hey, this was your grandfather's channel, and here's some of the things that your grandfather talked about or that was important to him. So first, as I said, the channel was made to talk about everything economic and how economic impacts all our life. In America, everything we do in America is based on economics. From the education that we receive, from the job that we get, everything that we do is based on economics. So what I'm gonna do is start first talking about myself. I was raised by my aunt. She had three other kids. My mother, she didn't raise me. I never knew my father, still don't know who my father is. We was raised in the Trimble homes, basically is some projects, in Warren, Ohio. My aunt, she did her best that she could. She worked at the hospital, raising four kids. But my economic situation was dire. I think that, I could say that I believe that I was, one of the ones that was marked to go to prison. And why would you say that you was marked to go to prison? My surroundings, the majority of the people, that I grew up with has been in and out of prison. Majority of the people that was around were in and out of prison. It was just a bad economic situation. And some of the things that in the area that I was talking, just like in some past videos, it wasn't, succeeding, in life in the right way wasn't something that was talked about. So, I would say that changed my life the most is I met my wife now when I was 16, just turning 17. She was a year and a half older than me. She was in college, not a little bit more, but a lot more mature than me. Had a heavy impact on my life. One, she took up a lot of my time that got me out of some of the bad things that I could have been doing. She talked me into joining the United States Army, which was outside of her was probably the second largest impact of my life. And what that did was it got me out of the environment that I was in. And lucky for me, once I got into a different environment, I realized that the environment that I was raised in just wasn't a good environment. And a lot of people struggle with that. I have, friends that I have now that struggle with that. Don't want to say that the environment that they come up with is bad or the environment that still exists there is bad. The environment is the environment. Don't much good come out of it. And you can be proud to where you came from, but you can understand that where you came from wasn't a good place and that you're just happy not to be there no more. That's what you're supposed to do. The objective of life when you grow up in the ghetto, your objective of life is to get out of the ghetto, not become ghetto famous. So I joined the Army and quickly, within about, after basic training AIT, I still wasn't happy that I was there. But I want to say I was on my first duty station in Germany for about 3 months, and I realized that, man, this is all right. This is for me. This is really for me. So when my wife, she joined the Army to my surprise, and then when she came to Germany, she talked me into taking my first college class. After I took my first college class, back then the Army wasn't paying 100%; they paid 75%. So I had to pay 25% of my class. I moved from the back of the room spitting spitballs to the front of the room because money was always important. All my life, money was important to me. So I moved up to the front of the room. I always knew I wanted to get some type of degree in finance, but it was really hard. It took me a long time. It took me maybe 16 years to achieve my master's degree in finance. But during that time, I had to work a full-time job in the United States Army. I went on 2 deployments prior to me getting my master's degree. Well, actually 1 deployment. The 2 other deployments was after. My wife, she achieved a master's degree in the same time. So we had 3 kids. We had 2 kids prior to us getting our master's degree, and when we was completing our master's degree, we had our youngest son. So my wife, when she was in school, I was at home watching the kids. She both worked. All our kids, they grew up in daycare. So we were a really, really busy, young family trying to find, our journey. And during this time, I met a really good friend of mine that I'm still friends with him today. He introduced me to Warren Buffett and by giving me the book Intelligent Investor. So while I'm probably in the Army maybe 4 years at this time, I met him. I started reading The Making of American Capitalists, what took me on my journey of learning how to invest in stocks and bonds. So I'm going to class, we're raising kids, and I'm reading how to become an investor, this whole time. So we were really, really busy. And this whole time, I was saving money. There was a time I was stationed with people and they all had $1,000 allotments. And I wanted that, even though I was young. We had a neighbor that lived across the street. My wife was in the Army at the time, as I said. I was an E3, she was an E4, which is, an enlisted rank. It's a PFC and specialist. We had a PFC living across who had a baby, as we had a baby, whose wife didn't work. I told my wife, I said, we're going to live as the neighbor does. They only got 1 income. We're going to live like that, and we're going to save one of those incomes, one of our checks. Because I knew, even at the time, that it was going to take money to make money. And the more money that I had, the more money that I was going to be able to make. So I started doing that initial saving. And I'm going to try to touch bases probably in the future. I'll be able to talk in more detail, but I'm just trying to touch on some of the things, that we were able to do, in our life, and how I was able to prosper, and mainly from an economic standpoint, which is the reason why, I started this economic message from father to son. So as I was reading and I was saving, I was already invested in mutual funds. I went over my mutual fund perspective, and I seen some of the stocks that they was holding. And I decided from reading, I said, they're holding way too many stocks. I want to be more concentrated and not so diversified. Based on my learning, based on everything that I read, I figured I could make more money by buying better companies and not carrying, these not so good companies along in my portfolio. And I took some bumps. I bought at home one time and it went to zero. Those were really good learning lessons when it comes to the stock market. When I was going against Graham, I actually went against Graham. I was speculating, and I got burnt, which was I can't remember how much money I lost, but it was a really good lesson. And it was a lot of money at the time, but it was a really good lesson. And I wouldn't be here today and understanding the investments the way that I do, if I didn't take those lessons learned. So as I stayed in the Army, I was getting promoted. My wife ended up getting out of the Army. I was able to save more money. I was able to make investments. And one time I was delivering pizzas to get extra money. Wasn't spending the money. Wasn't doing it to buy clothes. All I was doing was saving money. I want to say in like a month and a half, I saved up $5,000 delivering pizzas. and that was, let's say, 25 years ago. Out of that five, ain't no telling of the amount of money I have now. Ain't no telling how much that $5,000 were able to grow into. I don't know. That's why at the time it was worthwhile, delivering pizzas while still going to school, while raising kids, while being a husband. And that's what we wanted to do. I really wanted better in life. So those were the things that I had to do. So then lucky for me, I got to go on a deployment where I was able to, you're able to save a lot of money. You get, tax-free money, and you get danger pay. So I was able to do that. And so, I was able to invest more money as I was getting more money. And then 2008 happened. I had a decent amount of money. I lost half my money, or a little less than half my money. But luckily I had about 40% of my money was in cash. 2008 happened, the banking crisis happened. 2009, I pushed all my chips to the marble, told my wife, hey, if we're going to go broke, we're going to go broke. I bought some really good banking stocks, Bank of America, American Express. I bought eBay at the time. I want to say Bank of America was at like $2.25. So I exploded taking advantage. You'll see some of my videos I talk about. You always got to take advantage of a crisis. You got to be prepared for a crisis. You got to have money on the sideline for a crisis. And then you got to believe in America. Then you got to invest knowing that America is going to get through the crisis. All you got to do is just make sure that you're investing in companies that's going to make it through the crisis. So I made it through that crisis. I came out on the other side, and that really prospered. And from there, I opened up a Dairy Queen, opened up a second Dairy Queen, then opened up a third Dairy Queen. Throughout the whole time, I kept investing. Now I built up a really good portfolio. And I told all that to say about myself, because and I talk more in detail throughout the videos that I make through each stages that I was going through in life and how I did what I did. But that's the message about me, and how I was able to turn a life into that didn't have a mother, didn't have a father, was raised by an aunt that had 3 other kids, single parent, took me in. It was a blessing. But really, it's by grace of God that I'm here today, and that I was able to accomplish, all the things that I was able to accomplish. And besides the grace of God, I was real motivated, and it's what I wanted to do. The second message that I want people to learn, and out of all of these, I talk about the mistakes that I made in life and some of the successes. And I talk about, the second message is about me raising my kids and the success that they have. And to me, I couldn't imagine my kids being in a better position that they're in. I would love to be in their place. If I had to imagine, it was a rough road. It was a hard road traveled. But if I had to imagine my kids in a better place of success, I couldn't imagine it. So I like to talk about the message that I did with my kids, and how we worked together to get them to where they need to be. I said it wasn't easy. It was very, very difficult. I think a lot of it had to do is that at the time as we was raising them, we didn't have a lot of wealth. We couldn't send our kids to private school. We had to send our kids, and when I say private school, I mean, like big time private schools in Massachusetts, things like that, where you go away, you go to boarding school, where everything is academics, everything is kids doing everything together. It's a lot easier in that type of environment than it is the environment of raising kids, based on, wherever we were stationed at. Kids want to do what other kids do. And my kids want to do what other kids do. And we were very, 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 very strict parents. We demanded basically straight A's, from our kids. And for the most part, our kids achieved that. We asked it of them. We demanded it of them. And they did it. I mean, and they accomplished it. We started having them study, especially for my middle one and my youngest one. My youngest one started studying for his ACT in the 7th grade. He's in the 10th grade. We're not at the score, nowhere near the score that we want to be, but he take it again in June 10th, and I'm hoping he do very well. But we dreamed big for our kids. I'll give you an example of a story that really helped change my life. And if it may be for my kids, it changed my life for my kids. I was in the Army maybe a year. We was getting a new platoon leader. And everybody was worried, saying that this new platoon leader was a West Point graduate. And I said, well, okay, well, what's a West Point graduate? That's the Army Academy where people go to and they join the Army, and then they have to have so much time in the Army. They're very arrogant, they're uppity. These are the things that I heard. I said, well, man, I need to look into this. I already had my oldest son at the time. I knew I was committed for my kids to have a better life than I did. So I did a lot of research on it. And what I learned is that West Point was established by Congress originally to get Army officers, mainly engineers, to be to be Army officers. And then it was also, and then once they're done with their military service, to have educated, smart business people in the world. I said, oh, wow, this sounds like something that I want. So then I looked into it a little bit more, and I found out it was free. High academic, free, but you owe them, and not really free because you're giving them their time and it's hard, but then you owe them 5 years in the military afterwards. And as I did more and more research, I decided, hey, this is what I want my kids to do. I want my kids to go to West Point, be Army officer. My oldest son, he went to West Point. My middle son, who was really good at football, and I'm pretty sure I talked about it in a past video, he had a West Point football offer, but he also had a Colgate full ride offer because it wasn't going to be no money out of my pocket. I let him make the choice that he wanted to make. And for him, he made the right choice. But, my youngest son, I would still like to see go in as an Army officer. And maybe in another video, I talk in detail about why I wanted to be a West Point officer. But the main thing that I'm talking about, from an economic standpoint, I wanted my sons to be better off than I was. And I just want to repeat here, money isn't everything, but in America, money is the most important, besides life itself, which, you either have life or you don't. So I kind of exclude that, but money is the most important commodity in America. It's what keeps America going, and actually what keeps America great. People strive to want to do better, and it's the land of opportunity. There's some forces working against you, for several different factors. Depending on who you are, what your race is, what your sex is. There's some things working against you, but there's opportunity in America for you to succeed. And I'm real impressed and proud of where my sons is at. I'm looking forward to see, like I said, I'm in a battle with my youngest son to see where I can get him to. But the reason why I have this economic message from father to son is that I'm going to talk to everyone about what me and my kids did to accomplish where they at. And as I said, these videos will be out there. My kids will be able to watch them. My kids' kids will be able to watch them. But then most importantly, I hope I can have an impact, on somebody's life. But that's the reason why I would subscribe and I would watch these videos. I purposely try not to do little tricks and flashes and all these musics and all this stuff that people follow. What I want to be important in my videos, I want information in the conversation about economics, about doing better in life. I want that to be more important than all the other things that go in the video. So I think I'm up to 250 subscribers. I've been doing this for some time now. Not growing as fast as I would like. But like I said, if the message comes across to one person that allows them to offer their life and better their situation economically, then me making this video was worthwhile, and remaking this channel was worthwhile.